y'all. I am back for more thoughts on self care. So, when a plant is not thriving, when I don't know if y'all are gardeners, I love plants. I'm pretty obsessed with house plants, and my spouse is pretty obsessed with growing our food. So we have a lot of plants around most of the time. And when a plant is not doing well, when it is not flourishing, perhaps it's scraggly or it's turning brown or it's wilting or it's not flowering or producing fruits or roots or whatever it may be that we're expecting of it, we don't get mad at the plant. We don't assume that there's something wrong with the plant. Instead, what we do is we look at the surroundings of the plant. Is the soil healthy for the plant? What's the pH? What are the nutrients that are in the soil? Are there any bugs or pests that are perhaps eating away at the plant? Or maybe there's weeds that are stifling the growth of the plant. It can't get the sunlight or the rooted water and soil that it needs. Maybe it's not in a place where it gets enough sun. Maybe it's somewhere too far back on the porch, or maybe it's the type of plant that doesn't really like sun and it's out in full sun all day and it's getting sunburned. Did you know plants get sunburned? I sure didn't until I moved to Napa. The sun there is incredible, and my plants got sunburns quite often. Maybe it's not getting enough water, or maybe it's getting too much water. Another problem that I had a lot in Napa with my succulents, that I just wanted to water every day when really they wanted to be left alone. Anyways, we prioritize finding out what in the environment of the plant is wrong that is not allowing this plant to thrive. What is stifling its growth? What is making it hard for this plant to flourish? And so, why is it that we can take that much love and care of our plants? And yet, when we aren't thriving or growing or flourishing, we immediately jump to shame and blame and guilt. We immediately assume that there is something wrong with who we are inherently. And what's interesting about this is that we do this even even though we know better, even though we would give somebody else compassion or understanding or support or empathy, we would tell somebody else, hey, you've got a lot going on and you're doing a really good job in a really hard situation. For some reason, that often doesn't translate back to ourselves, and we end up blaming ourselves for things that are really outside of our control, or for things that are in our environment that we get to work on shifting. If we're in a relationship that the other person refuses to honor our boundaries or continues to do things that are harmful to us, despite the fact that we've communicated with them how much it doesn't work for us to show up in that way, well, then we are never going to be able to thrive at our fullest, because there's always going to be that other person there stifling us, no matter how hard we work at buoying ourselves, at our own self care. No amount of bubble baths in the world is going to support us in allowing an unhealthy relationship to continue. So, often what I will find is that when somebody tells me they're not thriving, we look at all of the various aspects of them, of their life. Perhaps it's past hurts or something within themselves, something that they do get to look at. Perhaps it's something that needs some ministerial support or a practitioner or support group. And we look at all those things, but sometimes maybe that person is doing as much as they can. They're doing everything right, whatever that means. And yet they aren't in an environment where they are going to thrive. They are somewhere where they are trying to force themselves to fit in because they don't really belong, or they aren't thriving because their whole self isn't welcome, Or perhaps they aren't thriving because they don't have the tools that they need, or they're living in poverty. They don't have the money that they need to buy the things they need just to support their own life. Perhaps they can't get the medical care that they need, or whatever it may be. And so this week, I want you to pretend you're a plant. You can be a really finicky house plant like an orchid, or you can be bamboo that grows everywhere like a weed, whatever you want to be. And ask yourself, am I planted in a place where I get to thrive? What do I need to thrive? And then when the answer comes, either work on shifting things or at the very least have compassion for yourself. Maybe you can't shift some area of your life right now that is really not the most beneficial for you. Maybe it's in your best interest to stay in that hard job where you aren't getting ahead at the moment, but you're waiting for something better to come. Well, at the very least, love yourself like you would love your most dear houseplants. Have compassion and empathy. Let yourself rest. Give yourself, if you can't give yourself the best soil right now, at least give yourself all of the water you need, the sun you need, the time and attention and love and caring that you need. Treat yourself like you would treat your most beloved friends. That is the essence of self-care. I love you all.